Hello friends, welcome to this online lecture as a part of faculty development program. I am Bodhendra Kumar and I teach philosophy in Department of Philosophy, Aligarh Muslim University. As you can see, this is totally different mode of education and the whole education system throughout the world is undergoing massive change. Major shift is occurring and it's a bit challenging task for both teachers and students as well. So we have to accept these changes. We have to embrace them with all love, and we have to welcome the changes as they are needed. They are the need of an hour. So this lecture will be primarily focusing uh, BA fifth semester. In BA fifth semester, we are teaching ethics, and in this lecture, we'll be discussing a little bit about what ethics is, and in detail, we will see other following lectures. There will be series of lectures, and we'll be studying ethics in detail in the followed lectures. So, as we see ethics, uh, first question arises in the mind is what ethics is. And generally, it is said that ethics has its genesis in Greek literature, as the word ethics is derived from a Greek word called as ethos, which means character in English. But you see, customs or character, by these two words, we cannot define ethics in totality. The concept of ethics has evolved a lot over a period of time, and it's really difficult to give one particular definition of what ethics is. But in nutshell, we can say it is a branch of philosophy in which we study human actions, and we either we judge them, like, about their rightness and wrongness, or we prescribe, uh, we give a prescription what is good or what is bad. Now you see, sorry for the interruption. Uh, we were discussing ethics. Uh, yes, ethics is it's a branch of philosophy in which we study human actions about their rightness and wrongness, and about their goodness and badness. And first come first, if we see, we need to understand the difference between right and wrong and good and bad. So it will be good if you guys ponder over it for a moment and try to understand, try to try to guess what is the difference between right and good, or you can say between uh, wrong and bad. There has to be some difference, and in this ethics, it is a very important concept to understand. So think over it. Okay, we'll discuss about this uh, in later lectures. But just I'll give you a running reference. Right and wrong are a priori concept, and goodness or badness, good and bad, are a posteriori concept. So a posteriori concepts are dependent on results, and a priori concepts are not dependent on any empirical evidence or any results. They are right or wrong in their own sense. They don't require any empirical evidence. They don't require the event to occur for this connotation of being right and wrong. So, moving ahead, you see, ethics has a few important components which we will derive out of its very own definition. The definition says that ethics is a study, it's a branch of philosophy, and in which we study human actions about their rightness and wrongness, or goodness or badness. Now, if we analyze this definition itself, the first question which arises in our mind is why it is a branch of philosophy. Why do we study ethics as a part of philosophy? Why it is not some other subject? Why it is not coming under the history, or why it is not coming under sociology? Why it is not coming under you can say why it is not coming under even psychology? There has to be uh, some deep connection between philosophy and ethics. So, next thing I want you all to ponder over is going back to the roots, going back to the basics, is what philosophy is. You have to be crystal clear about this, what philosophy is. And out of this thought that what philosophy is, we will get the answer to this question. Uh, Another thing which we need to discuss about ethics is, which is coming out of its definition, that it is the study of human actions. So you see, in this whole nature, in whole cosmos, uh, work done is seen everywhere, and even these actions, what we are talking about, these actions are acted means they are done by even animals. So why only human beings' actions are judged? Why not animals? Why not the stray dogs? Why not the bulls and buffaloes? Why not the birds? Why not the aquatic animals? So there has to be a reason why human actions are being judged. Why not? There can be actions of animals also which harm human beings. There can be actions of animals which harm whole society, but their actions are not being judged as good or bad or right or wrong. But only human beings' actions are judged as uh, good or bad or right and wrong. So we will discuss this also. Why only human beings' actions are studied in ethics. Uh, Next section of our lecture will be about the introduction about various standards. Uh, Talking about the standards, see, whenever we give judgment about any action, there has to be a source of referencing source, or we can say some standard from which standpoint, from which perspective we are giving the judgment. For example, uh, I'm not dancing right now. I'm not dancing right now because I'm conducting a class. So, my action of dancing can be good or can be bad only from the different perspectives. Or technically say, um, my action of dancing and not dancing, my action of dancing can be right if I am standing on a stage and there is a dance competition. And my action of dancing can be called as wrong or bad if I am taking a class. So you see, there are different standards or different viewpoints from which we give judgments about the action, any action. So any action isolated from its standard cannot be given any judgment about. We cannot say that shooting is wrong. We cannot say uh, eating food with animal origin is right or wrong, good or bad. So there are different standards. For example, law is a standard. If law says that mm, law says that mm, whatever law says is right, I cannot say it. I cannot prescribe anything against law. But there are different standards. For example, law is a standard. Then very important, which will be extensively studying in a class. Um, pleasure. Pleasure is a standard, and then perfection is a standard. Then evolution is a standard, and you say intuition is a standard. So you see there are various standards, and one action can be judged variously by these standards, and the judgment will be different every time. It can be same and it can be different. But what we want to discuss over here is that standards are very important to judge any human action. Okay. Moving further, moving further, as we see, first thing we derived out of the definition of ethics is why ethics is a branch of philosophy. Second thing we derived is why only human actions are judged, studied in ethics. Then third thing we derived was uh, what are the standards. And fourth thing I want to discuss with you is what are the objects of ethics? Means what kind of actions? See, if I am a soldier, okay, I'm just a beat soldier, uh, and my duty is just to follow the orders of my senior, and my senior orders me to fire. I have to fire without even thinking about its repercussions. I do not have to give my own judgment to whom I am shooting, why I am shooting, whether this is an ethical act, whether I should shoot or not. The person in front of me is enemy or an ally. That is not my concern as far as I am doing my duty. Another example, if we can see, of a slave. A slave is asked to do various actions by his master. So the actions done by a slave are difficult to judge on moral grounds. Same way, the actions of a soldier are difficult to judge on moral grounds because they do not act with their own will, they do not act with their own judgment. They do not have, technically saying, they do not have freedom of will. So this is the overview I have given you about what ethics is and what we will be discussing in our future lectures. There are a few questions which I have raised. It is good if you will ponder over them, and we will meet you in another session. Till the time, you the, the questions you have to research about are the difference between right and good, what is basically philosophy is, and why ethics is being is the branch of philosophy, why it is being taught by philosophers. Okay, take care of your health, take care of your family, and be fearless, have compassion, and we'll meet in next session.